Hello there. So you've seen me talk here before about my desire to do experiments and yet my aversion to being experimented on. So I think I've found an appropriate way to move forward with that. So rather than experimenting on myself and my writing, I'm going to be doing some experiments related to marketing my books specifically. So what I've been doing right now, a couple weeks ago, I made 3 of my books free. And this is a popular strategy for those of us who are wide with our books, which means that our books are not exclusive to Amazon, but are distributed everywhere. So a common way for authors who are wide to get new readers to take a chance on them is to make the first book in a series free. So I've done that with 3 books at present. I'm planning to keep these 3 free for quite some time. This is called a perma-free in the vernacular of the wide community. So the first thing I noticed is that as soon as I made them free, they started getting traction. I can see the downloads every day coming through on Amazon in particular, and it's really exciting to see that. I also would see, as a result, my books climbing the ranks for the categories that they're in based on the number of downloads they're getting every day. Now, I recently watched a video from Bethany Atazadeh. I really like her account. I love her perspective. And she was talking about ads versus organic marketing. It was an experiment related to Amazon ads, which she deemed unsuccessful and is now opting to go to do organic marketing on social media. And I think that's really interesting. I'm intending to do an experiment comparing a few different things, organic, a couple different ad platforms, but what I'm going to compare is not just money spent, but also time spent. What I'm doing right now is getting as much optimization in place as I can before I start that experiment. So also in Bethany's video, she talked about the tool Publisher Rocket, which reminded me that I have that tool, that I haven't looked at it in quite some time. So I hadn't revisited my categories or keywords in quite some time. And when I pulled open that tool, I was like, let me just go and look and see, because I think I'm on the right track with all of these things. There are a couple of things that I noticed. So first is that categories, as much as, free downloads were leading to me climbing the ranks in some of my categories, what I realized is that my books are in some categories that are very competitive. So what you can see inside the Publisher Rocket tool is how many sales you need in a certain category in order to rank in the top 10 or the top 1. And for some categories, it is big, like especially in romance. If you're just going for contemporary romance or romantic comedy, you might need a lot of downloads. So I'll share some screenshots to show what the numbers are at the time that I took these screenshots. But what I found from my books is that there are some other categories that do still fit. So this is key. You don't want to just find an empty category and go, oh, I'm going to go rank really, really high in this super specific category that has nothing to do with my books. That's not the move at all. But to find a category that does fit my books, that when I go and look at the bestseller list for that category, yeah, my book belongs there. It could fit there really nicely. And it needs a tiny fraction of the downloads, the sales, in order to rank in that category. So that's the first change I'm going to make, is changing the categories for my books. And the second change I'm going to make is optimizing my keywords. So when I take the keywords I currently have and I go and plug them into Publisher Rocket, I can see that some of them were really just me like wildly guessing at what was the move, at what would be a good keyword to describe this book. So using Publisher Rocket, and along with that, using a blog post from Kindlepreneur that explained their strategy for saying, like, use these three boxes for one purpose, use the next 2 for another purpose, use the next 2 for another purpose. So it's like specific keywords, sort of leftover words, and then category specific words. They explain it much better. I will link to the blog post. So approaching it from those 2 things is huge. Those are 2. And also, finally, the third thing I'm going to do, actually this should be the first thing, is to go in and update the back matter in my books, especially these free books. So I haven't updated the back matter in about a year at this point, which means that there are not links to the most recent books that I've published in the back matter. The most important section, I believe, of my books is in the back, where I say, like, if you like this book, check out these other books, and I link to all of my existing books. there are some books, like my most recent Christmas book, for example, hasn't been linked to yet in any of those books. So it needs to be updated. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm kind of here saying this is both, here's a case study of my experience of like how this is going to work for me, but also this is me saying if you're going to try a perma-free strategy like I am doing, make sure you do these things first. So make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. Make sure you've got the links in your back matter. It's as optimized as it can be. Make sure you've got your book in the right categories so it has the best chance of climbing the ranks and sticking somewhere high where it's going to get more and more eyeballs on it, more and more organic visibility. And make sure your keywords are in order to, same as the category thing there, to make sure that the book is coming up when people are searching for something that suggests that they would enjoy your book. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to be focusing on right now. I'm going to be working on them over the course of probably the next week. I have 10 fiction books currently that I'm going to do this for. I'm not working with my nonfiction self-help books. So I'm going to start prioritizing the free books, the 3 free books, and then I will work through the rest of them as well and make sure that those are all updated. And then I will show you the results, show you the impact that this has had on those downloads on Amazon specifically, because of course, these are Amazon categories and keywords, although there are a few other retailers that you can include keywords on as well. So once I update them here, I will update them on the other retailers as well. I've been slowly working through the Get Your Book Selling on, and there's a book for each different platform, working through that series and taking notes on all the optimizations I want to make. And I will keep doing those improvements as they go on. But for right now, these changes that I can make just using Publisher Rocket are the ones that I am going to focus on just to see the impact that it can have. And then I will be so set up for success when the time comes to run my little experiment on seeing, which platforms make the most sense, both in terms of money spent and in terms of time spent, because both of those things are precious resources. And I would say one of them is much more precious than the other. So let's dive in. Let's see how it goes. I'll check in with you in a couple of weeks probably to let you know how it's been going. Okay, so I started with just updating the keywords and categories for my free books, and I focused on doing one a day. That was my initial goal. So the first day I updated Pride, Prejudice, and Turkish Delight. And then the next day when I logged in to work on it some more, I could see that it was already at number 14 in one of its categories, which got me super jazzed about making some good progress with updating the other books. So that day I spent some time working on the next 2 free books, just to have all of those free ones, the ones that were getting the most organic downloads, as optimized as possible. So I ended up having to let the books sit for a while. We had some visitors and things were a little busy. So I just had the keywords and categories optimized on my 3 free books, and I didn't have the time yet to work on the paid books. So what I noticed, what was amazing about this, what made me immediately say this is a success, is that the books went from being, now, I don't have the screenshots from Publisher Rocket to show what their rankings were in their categories, but I can just say it was in the 5 figures, 10,000, 20,000, something like that, because the categories that those books were in originally were big categories, right? I went for contemporary romance or romantic comedy, and those are big categories. So in order to rank highly in those categories, you have to have a lot of downloads. So the amazing thing about Publisher Rocket was being able to find categories that I could get my books into where they would actually then end up in the top 100 charts for those various categories, which I do believe then led to more downloads. So if you look at the chart, where it's my daily downloads up to this point, and I've stopped it before, yesterday I was part of a big free book blast, so I'm not going to include that because that would really skew things. But you can see initially when you make books free on Amazon, there is an initial organic boost that happens, and they were having daily downloads, right? That was happening. But I do believe that from the time, I started around the 30th of March to optimize the categories and keywords, and I do see the downloads going up after that point. Now, since then, by the time I'm here checking in, I only have 2 books left that I haven't done the optimizations for. That's on my to-do list to get done this week. Those are 2 books that don't have subsequent books in the series out yet. So they've been lower priority for me simply because they move fewer copies. So I have gone ahead and done the optimizations for the subsequent books. So Sense, Sensibility, and Mediterranean Sea, the 2 remaining Home Abroad for the Holidays books, the 2 remaining novellas, the Casa of Istanbul novellas. And what's amazing with those is even though those books have not been moving a lot of copies, once I got them into smaller, less competitive categories, now I can see that they are in like the top 1,000. So yeah, they're not on a bestseller chart because, I mean, admittedly, if they were on a bestseller chart for how many copies they're moving, I would be like, what kind of bestseller chart is this? Like, this is alarming. But the fact that they've made it up into like the top 1,000 is really, really encouraging to me. And so I think this has been such a smashing success, these Publisher Rocket optimizations. I immediately, once I saw the numbers coming in, I was like, I want to be an affiliate for this. I strongly recommend it. I will use this regularly. I will check in to optimize and make sure that my books are in the exact best position that they can be in. So I do have an affiliate link. I have put it down below. I'm happy to answer any questions about my experience. What this says to me, what this experience says to me is that I am ready now to direct more traffic towards those books. So that might be Amazon ads, it might be Facebook ads. I am learning right now about what approaches I want to take, what's going to make the most sense for me, and that is my intention to focus on those things next. So highly, highly recommend this. I'm really excited to see where we can go from here with tools like this. So yeah, if you've tried it and have had success or haven't had success, I'd love to hear what your experience was with Publisher Rocket. But like I've said, I do highly recommend, if you're going to make your books free, especially on Amazon, if you're going to do that wide first in series free strategy, then it's so important to make sure your books are in the right categories and have the right keywords so that you can take the most advantage of the boost they're going to get from being free. So thank you for this tool. Thank you to this tool for existing. And thanks for watching, and I'll be back again with another video soon.